Am I the a-hole for laughing at the name my sister chose for her baby? Update at end. For context, I, 28F, attended a family dinner with my mom, dad, and sister, 26F, yesterday. My sister is due to give birth soon and decided this dinner would be the perfect time to announce the name she chose for her first child. My sister has always been obsessed with aesthetics, her whole house is beige and rather depressing if I'm honest. The whole nursery she built for baby is beige and gray and will not accept colorful gifts for the baby. I can tell her husband hates it but he won't admit it. Now here is the issue, I am very prone to laughing at inappropriate times. I am autistic and find it hard to filter what I say and my emotions, which can lead to me reacting to things in ways that can offend people. I didn't think this would cause issues, until she revealed the name of her baby. So, we are all done with our dinner, we are looking at my sister as announces her baby will be named Brooklyn Willow Rose, insert surname, not including it for privacy. Spelt exactly like that. And then I burst out laughing, and said, you cannot be serious. I am now banned from all family dinners. Is the name really that bad? Was I really a massive asshole? You've got 3 separate issues/questions here. 1. I am now banned from all family dinners. This seems a big overreaction unless there's more background you haven't shared. 2. Is the name really that bad? Yes it really is. 3. Was I really a massive asshole? You were rude and inappropriate. You're the a-hole, but that poor kid. I'll argue Willow and Rose really aren't that bad. But damn, Brooklyn looks like whoever was writing it had a stroke mid-name. Edit to add I know it's Brooklyn but apparently even my autocorrect was against that, so I'm not changing it. Willow Rose is a pretty name, but Brooklyn had me doing a spit take with my coffee this morning. Brooklyn Willow sounds like a law firm specializing in garden landscaping. Poor kid's name will be a spelling nightmare. You're the a-hole. But you are a correct asshole lol. Poor kid. OP replies. A correct asshole, I'll take that. Broccoli? She thinks it's a good idea to name her child Broccoli Willow? I'm sorry but as a primary school teacher Brooklyn sounds too close to broccoli not to be made fun of. Not the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. The banning is weird, to disown you over this seems a big reaction. I'm guessing you're either exaggerating or this isn't the first incident. You're more than old enough to notice that people don't like being laughed at and more than old enough to know that it doesn't get your point across, especially as you had a point. The name sounds like broccoli. Learning techniques to help you stop blurting things out really should have been addressed when you were a kid, but it's not too late to take responsibility now you're an adult. Mindfulness techniques, pause and breathe, mental checklists, etc. It isn't the first incident. OP said that the bans usually last for a few months so they've clearly done and said things multiple times in the past to upset the family to the point that the family doesn't want to see them. Yeah, at some point you have to stop using your autism as an umbrella excuse for being an asshole. The name sucks. But you can't continuously make others feel bad and just use, sorry, autism, every time. Update. After writing this post I decided to call my sister and apologize, as when I wrote down what happened I did realize what a move that was. I said I was sorry for laughing and I apologized for using my mental disability as an excuse and offered to treat her to lunch as an apology. Understandably she was reluctant to forgive me, but she did which I am thankful for. She said she was hurt by my actions which I understood but was willing to look past it. I knew posting this story on here would give me the slap in the face that I needed which I appreciate. And if anyone's wondering, the name is staying. I didn't comment at all on it. AITA for telling my sister that my other pregnant sister is planning to name her baby after her deceased son, causing her to cut her off. AITA? I have 2 sisters, I'm the middle sister. My older sister, OS, lost her son late 2022, so it hasn't even been 2 years yet. He passed at 6 months due to SIDS. My OS has been mourning him ever since. My little sister, LS, is pregnant with her first child now and she found out it's a boy. When I was over at her house we were talking about her plans for the pregnancy and the baby and she told me she plans to name her son the name of my OS deceased son and keep it a surprise. I can tell she thought it was an honor thing but knowing my OS, she would be devastated if that happened. I told my LS I don't think it's a good idea and that our OS would not find it to be sweet and an honor it would hurt her even more. We argued about it and she said that I'm being dramatic. Even though I know it was supposed to be a surprise, I knew my older sister would be even more depressed than she already is if our LS named her son after her deceased son so I went against my LS wishes and told my OS. As I expected she was mad. She said it was incredibly disgusting and selfish to do that knowing how fresh it is for her and that she does not want to see a baby with her son's name in the family which I agreed with. She was very grateful that I told her before he was born because she said she doesn't know how badly that would have triggered her. She of course confronted my LS and they argued about it for a while, with everyone in our family siding with my OS. My LS called me in tears saying I'm the reason that my OS cut her off and isn't speaking to her because she's still going to name her son after our nephew even with my OS begging her not to, saying that she doesn't find it an honor and that it would hurt her to see another child named after her deceased one. I told my LS she's a horrible person for still going through with this knowing how much it hurts our OS. She says I'm an asshole for telling her since it was supposed to be a surprise at birth and that seeing her nephew with her son's name would make her realize it's a good thing and she's just trying to be a good person and I'm an asshole for making them fight. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your little sister isn't dealing with the consequences of her own actions well and is blaming you. You didn't do anything wrong. You explained to her it was a bad idea, she's still going through with it, your older sister is extremely upset by this and your family is upset by this and your little sister is still doing it. Also, losing a child is traumatic and heartbreaking, and it would have absolutely been so much worse if your older sister came and saw your nephew and your little sister said the name of her deceased child, found out you were aware of this and didn't say anything. My cousin lost a son to SIDS last August, the 1-year anniversary was on the 2nd, and I could never imagine naming a baby after her son. Even if I didn't know him personally, it still feels insensitive and she'd absolutely be crushed, but quietly cause she's very non-confrontational. And that's my cousin, not even immediate family like my sister. I lost a son just shy of 6 months to SIDS. This was almost 10 years ago, and if it was discussed with me as a middle name, I think it would be a sweet tribute. 2 years in and as a first name? Heck no. Imagine, for the rest of older sister's life, she would receive invitations to milestone events her son never had a chance to do, graduations, weddings, birthday parties. Almost gives the impression that little sister is trying to replace older sister's boy with her own. This is not one of those, no one owns a name, situations. LS is planning to give her child this name when she already knows it will hurt the OS. How awful. I hope she rethinks this idea and comes up with another name. OP is not the a-hole. For giving OS a heads up. By the looks of it, she's just gonna double down and then get all huffy when no one likes her honor name. Not the a-hole. My young adult stepdaughter died suddenly. She was my husband's firstborn and he loved her fiercely. I had all I could do to keep him alive for the first few months, his grief was so deep. 2 years later my stepson and Dial announced they were pregnant, and shared 2 names they were thinking of using. No issue with either. But when my granddaughter was born they named her after my stepdaughter. It was a surprise to everyone, and we all struggled with it. My husband was never able to call his granddaughter by her name, he had a nickname for her that he used, and it hurt every time he heard that name, because it just reminded him of what he had lost. 20 years later, every so often, he would just moan her name and have tears in his eyes. I can only imagine the grief of a parent losing an infant, never being able to call her son's name again. My stepson and Dial intended it to be an honor and hoped having the name associated with a baby, and a very cute and delightful child she was and still is, would ease everyone's grief. It did not. Middle names are for honoring. First names are just too much. Not the a-hole. My sister and her husband considered naming their son after her husband's late brother who died from SIDS. They checked with the in-laws and decided that even though it was 30-something years later it would be too painful and a reminder of everything their late son never got to do. It doesn't matter how much time passes, you carry the grief forever. Your little sister knows this choice will hurt your older sister and she doesn't care. That lack of empathy and compassion would be my final straw. Am I the a-hole? For telling my wife the lock on my daughter's door does not get removed till my brother-in-law and his daughters are out of our house? My brother-in-law, Sammy, lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters, Olivia and Sloane 18, with him a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe 16, and she and her cousins aren't close but get along fine. Olivia and Sloane have no respect for Zoe's privacy, none. They used to walk into her room and take everything they get their hands on. Makeup, phone accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls and this typical teenage girl's behavior. I completely disagreed. Last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set that she saved up for over a month, and one of the girls, Sloane, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed, and was crying. I told my wife and she said she'd ask Sloane to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found she was moving valuable belongings out the house because of this incident. Sammy and his daughters saw the lock and weren't happy, the girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it and I straight up told him. He said, my daughters aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff. He said Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive, adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she is. He accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him this between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters, then demanded I remove it, but I said this lock does not get removed till her brother and his daughters are out of our house. She got mad I was implying we kick them out and said her family will hate me for this. So I reminded her that I let Sammy and his family move in, which something her own family refused to do, so she should start with shaming/blaming them for not taking their own son and nieces/granddaughters in. If it wasn't for her family's unwillingness to help, we wouldn't be dealing with this much disturbance at home. Everyone's been giving me and Zoe silent treatment and my wife is very much upset over this. Not the a-hole. Don't back down. You are the only one sticking up for Zoe. If her cousins want to use expensive makeup, give them your wife's. I guarantee she won't appreciate sharing anymore. They need to start behaving like appreciative guests. I love this idea. Not the a-hole. OP, you have your daughter's back and totally get her need for privacy and autonomy over her stuff. I'm disgusted that her own mother isn't more supportive. Please lend some mother's makeup to the twins, because obviously it's what girls do, isn't it? They love to borrow and use each other's stuff. Without asking. Bonus if OP goes into Sammy's room to borrow things without asking. Underwear, an expensive watch or something. Returning it with visible wear and tear. Nutella would be my friend for his favorite pants. LOL, return underwear with stains? Man, I'd never mess with you. Not the a-hole. Your wife harbors someone who tells you that Zoe has a defect in her personality for buying an expensive makeup kit. That's the kind of thing that has people thinking about divorce. Exactly. As a mother myself, I cannot fathom how any mother would let someone treat their child like that, even if it is family. That would have bought them a one-way ticket right out my front door. If your kid can't count on you to protect them, who can they count on? Not the a-hole. As a parent, I know I can't stop the world from saying bad things about my children. It breaks my heart, but to a certain extent you have to allow it to happen so they learn how to overcome it without being destroyed. But the idea of not only giving that person a home but defending them then attacking the character of the only person on their side is appalling me. Mom gets no slack cut from me on this one. She should be ashamed of herself. Good on OP. Not the a-hole. Your daughter doesn't feel like she has any privacy or respect in her own home and you gave her a lock to give her back her privacy. You tried talking to your wife, your BIL and your nieces and that got you nowhere. If your daughter has to accept 3 additional adults living in her home, they need to accept her very reasonable boundaries of not taking and ruining her things. Good for you showing your daughter you respect and support her. Not the a-hole. They are 18, this is 100% vindictive. Mixing and destroying a new palette and leaving it on Zoe's bed screams of malice. Oh, 100% agreed. Plus, it's disgusting, do not share eye makeup with other people. Gah. Bet they are also using the same brushes, not cleaning them, gross. It's not just about taking something Zoe saved up for and destroying it, they could have given Zoe an eye infection. Not the a-hole. Quotes, my daughters aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff. His daughters are in fact thieves because there's a thin line in between stealing and borrowing and that is our bestie consent. His daughters don't ask yours for permission on whether they can take something from her or not. They help themselves into her room, into her cabinet/closet, take whatever they feel entitled to, use it however they want even if they destroy it and then if so your daughter might see the object they stole from her again. You are being an amazing parent and Zoe will forever be grateful for having her back the way a parent should. Whereas, your wife. I don't know if it's the fact that those are her brother's daughters or if she just doesn't care about people getting through her daughter at whatever cost just to steal her property and damage it. Also, funny how it went from, my daughters aren't thieves, to, my daughters just wanted to spend time with yours and now they aren't allowed to do so. They're not thieves, they're beyond thieves. They're locusts. Helping themselves to whatever they can grab and not an ounce of gratitude. Am I the a-hole? For suing my girlfriend after she had my 1967 Impala project taken to the scrapyard? I'll try to keep this short. I had a 1967 Impala 4-door that I bought in February 2019. A couple months ago I bought my first house that had a 2.5 car garage. I moved the car in and started tearing it down for a complete restoration. I had the body in one bay and the chassis in another, plus the whole garage filled with parts. About 2 months ago my girlfriend came to live with me during this whole crisis and the whole time has hated that car. She wants to park in the garage but I have 2 acres of land with a lot of nice places to park under shady trees or hell even in the barn if it has to be inside. I tell her tough luck it's my house and it's not like I can just throw it back together real quick. Anyways I was out of town for a couple days on a business trip for the small local company I work for. When I got back, my girlfriend was all smiles. Making me food all the time, doing all the chores, all that. I thought maybe she just was happy to have me home but then I realized that I didn't see her car in its usual spot. I asked her where she parked so I could make sure I mow that area and keep it clean and she said not to worry because she parked in the garage. I asked how and she told me to go check it out. Turns out that while I was gone she hired some people to come over and move everything related to that car, including the drivetrain, body, and chassis and all parts, and take it to the local dump/scrapyard. I was absolutely dumbfounded. I had spent over $11,000 on that car including new parts, services, and the car itself. I told her that I was going to be taking her to court for that and she brushed me off like I was being dramatic. I told her that it's done between us and to pack her things and leave. I admit I was really angry but I did end up getting a lawyer, and as I have all the receipts for all that money spent and I have her on my house's security cam footage letting the guys in and watching them take it all I think I can win. Her family and friends are absolutely blowing me up saying it's just a stupid old piece of junk and that she cannot pay back all that money I spent, and that I should just let it go. But I have been putting all my time, effort, and money into that car for a year and a half now and goddammit if I am not going to get justice for what she did. Am I the a-hole? Sue her. Sue her for the cost plus a few extra thousand for the time and money. Have her prosecuted for theft, destruction of private property and have the guys that came to get it prosecuted for receiving stolen goods. Nail them all to the wall. OP replied. I mean I can't blame the guys that came and got it. She told them it was her dad's and she had lost the title for it and wanted it gone, and they believed her, so it's not their fault they got lied to. Taking a car that the title was lost makes them kind of shady. I've had cars sent to the scrapyard, and if I didn't have a title in hand they refused to take it. This is her story. When the guys saw what they were getting, I'm sure they were jumping up and down inside, unless they know nothing about cars. OP replies. I mean, at first glance it did kind of just look like a half-finished project that hasn't been touched in decades, but yeah, maybe they thought they could make a pretty penny on all the original parts that were there, which I'm sure they could. Reach out to them with proof that you owned it and it was illegally taken. If they had no trouble taking something without a title, then maybe they kept it for themselves as extra parts. OP makes an edit. Edit, thank you all so much for the support and awards and everything. I'm glad I have some people on my side. I got a call from her mom about 20 minutes ago and she told me that I was ruining her daughter's life over a stupid car. I told her she ruined her own life. I've been gathering documentation and stuff and I'm about to head down to the police station and file a report, as suggested by lots here. Once again, thank you all. Not the a-hole. How do you have the nerve to do something like that in someone's home? She isn't even your wife. She went too far and I say you dodged a bullet. OP replies. I wouldn't say I dodged a bullet, more like it hit me in the shoulder instead of the heart. Hurts, but could be a lot worse. I'm sure the tune of 11k hurts and gone in an instant. When I say dodged a bullet, I mean if she can do this behind your back with no remorse, imagine what else. All cause she didn't like it. And that's when they're dating, she didn't even have an actual say in anything, imagine if they'd gotten married. And that's exactly what I mean by dodged a bullet. She really overstepped her bounds. Holy shit, definitely not the asshole. That's like your girlfriend selling a dog out from under you while you are on a business trip because she didn't like it. The audacity. If she didn't like it, she could have just ignored it. The most toxic part is that she sees no issue. Your property, your house, she throws it away. And if any judge knows the worth of that car, they would understand suing her for the costs. Let alone the time you spent on it. That's a hobby, and a damn good one. If she couldn't support you and your project, that probably would have been a red flag for anything you do later on. I think this is all justified. Edit, to add not the a-hole. Exactly, it's not just the money he put into it but all the time he spent working on it too. Women like this are insane. My fiancé's stepdad restores 1939 Ford Coupes. It took him a year just to find some specific parts he was looking for, and at a pretty penny too. I could never even fathom if someone were to sell that from under him, let alone scrap it. This poor guy. Update, went to the police station last night, was told to come back in the morning. Just got back and filed an official report against her for grand larceny and grand theft auto. I showed them all the receipts I had for the car and the footage of her letting the guys come and take it, as well as the title for the vehicle in my name. They said they will be in contact with all three parties, me, XGF, and junkyard guys, soon, and they will hopefully be able to recover some or all of the car. Just have to wait now. Huge update, they found my goddamn car. The junkyard guys apparently were in the middle of hiding it when the police came to ask them questions. It was on a forklift and they were gonna put it on top of a pile of cars that was hidden behind more piles of cars. They said it was theirs and they had the title, but obviously didn't have the title for it, and since they matched the VIN on the chassis and body to the VIN on my title, it was obviously mine. I know at least one person there has been arrested. I think he was in the camera footage I talked about earlier, but if it was the boss or whomever or even his specific charge, they also told me they would be looking into this specific junkyard for any other vehicles reported stolen. They said they haven't been able to get in contact with my ex just yet, but they're working on it. I'm just so glad they found my car. Luckily, I made quite an album of pictures detailing me tearing down the car, and so I can use that to prove what parts they had were mine, so I can hopefully get most or all of it back. Police haven't let me take it back home yet, as they say it is evidence or something, so hopefully I can get it back eventually. Thank you all so much for the support and advice. She's gonna be alright.